In today's timeline episode, we'll be looking into the life of the youngest and perhaps most violent Simpson.
Maggie! What a great little accident you turned out to be.
But you may be asking, how can I make a timeline on a character who has been a baby for 30 years? Well, we've seen glimpses into Maggie's future a fair few times, and compared to every other character, she surprisingly has the most consistent. So, how did this little Springfieldian go from a gun-wielding baby to being the biggest pop star on Earth? Well, grab yourself a Buzz Cola and let's find out. This is the complete Maggie Simpson timeline.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Her birth, Maggie makes 3. We covered Maggie's birth in Homer's timeline, so we won't go into too much detail, but to sum it up, Maggie wasn't planned. At around this time, Homer was living his perfect carefree life, working at the bowling alley, but Maggie's unplanned arrival caused his world to be knocked down like 10 pins. And he couldn't afford to feed another mouth on his bowling alley salary. And so he is forced to crawl back to Mr. Burns and beg for his job back. And so this makes Homer less than enthused for his third child, but all that changes when he sees his daughter for the very first time. He is so besotted with her that he plasters her face all over his workstation. And although this is a super sweet moment, Homer would forget about her existence on a fair few occasions.
Hello, little girl. Who do you belong to?
But seeing how many times he's bashed his head in, we'll give him a break.
No!
1-year-old, normal day. So Maggie is known for being the strong, silent type, but it just makes every line she does speak that much more exciting. The first was very early on in the Simpsons shorts. And it's the importance of her spoken words that really show Maggie and Homer's strong relationship, as she is the only child out of all 3 in her early years to call Homer Daddy.
Daddy.
And at the end of the Simpsons movie, she teased us by taking out her pacifier and saying,
Sequel?
And 17 years later, we are still waiting for that bloody sequel. Also, Maggie is capable of forming complete sentences, but she chooses not to. This is because when she did talk, no one paid attention to her.
No one listened? Maggie never talk again.
And even though it seems that Maggie is Daddy's little girl, it is very obvious to say that Marge is the centre of her universe. When the Flanders briefly adopted Maggie, it seems like she was the perfect fit for the Flanders clan.
Daddly doodly.
Later on, Maggie has to choose between Homer or the angelic Flanders, but just when we think her decision is made, Marge appears from over the hill and Maggie runs into her mother's arms in a moment which is so cute. But before things get a little soft and mushy, don't let her cute face fool you. This little lady is a stone cold killer. Let's not forget that she shot Mr. Burns after he tried to steal her candy, as she probably should, and although it was supposedly an accident, her shifty eyes say otherwise. In fact, Maggie's a lot more self-aware than we give her credit for. Like when Mr. Burns would later return to the Simpsons house and Maggie whips out a shotgun. Not to mention a time she shattered a glass bottle to use as a makeshift weapon against Mr. Teeny. Then in the Simpsons movie, after Homer and Bart freed the town of the infamous Dome, they were cornered by villainous Russ Cargill with a gun. But Maggie saves the day by dropping a boulder on his head. And there's the Treehouse of Horror episodes, and although these aren't really considered canon, she really unleashes her inner psycho in these specials, once again making me think that these episodes are just warped versions of their true characters. For instance, she impales an axe into Willie's back, spears Helen Lovejoy through the head, stabs Dr. Hibbert with a thermometer, and choked Ned with a toy car. And then there was the time in Treehouse 27 when the family are confronted by Kang, Grimy Sideshow Bob, and a leprechaun. Maggie's Kill Bill side pops up once again and she slices off all of their heads. I guess it's not by coincidence that she dresses up as psychopathic Alex from Clockwork Orange a number of times. But she's not all blood, guts and minus gore, she's pretty heroic too. She saved her father on multiple occasions, such as rescuing him from drowning, caught a flying bottle that was about to hit him in the head, and when home was cornered by the mafia, Maggie expertly fired a rifle, disarming Fat Tony and his goons. And let's not forget that Maggie's had her fair few adventures. She has orchestrated a baby rebellion, planning a great escape from a daycare centre, led a charge of animals to save a possum from Cletus, and she has even fallen in love. Aww. So I guess you can say for being only 1 year old, Maggie has accomplished more in her small lifetime than many of us could ever dream of. Before we continue, if you're enjoying the video, then please consider subscribing to the Simpsons Theory. Only 13% of you who watch my videos are actually subscribed to the channel, but when you click that sexy red button, it lets YouTube know that you like my videos and recommends my channel to more and more people. So thank you, I really do appreciate it. Anyway, back to the video. Age 9, future drama, Barthood. During Milhouse's very staged graduation party, an older Lisa and Bart get into an argument. While there, we can see Maggie kissing Gerald Sampson. You know, that kid with a creepy monobrow. This is very surprising as Maggie and the monobrow baby have been sworn enemies for years. The origin of this rivalry was explained on a trading card game called Simpsons Mania of all things. And according to the card, Gerald was actually born on the same day as Maggie, and the grossly underfunded Springfield General Hospital only had one diaper left, and it was given to Maggie, thus leaving poor baby Gerald to be wrapped up in the discount section of the Springfield shopper. And Gerald developed a huge, horrible rash that persists to this day. And so he blames Maggie for this uncomfortable condition and spends his nap time plotting his revenge. I guess you could say that before this whole kissing situation happened, that Maggie was a pain in Gerald's butt. Age 16, Lisa's wedding. Around this time, Lisa is now engaged to an English chap named Hugh, who she invites over to meet the family. And although Maggie is no longer sucking on her pacifier, she now wears it as a necklace. So fetch. And whilst at dinner, Lisa asks Maggie if she wants to come to her dress fitting.
Maggie, don't talk with your mouth full.
Later on at the wedding, Maggie is described by the townsfolk as having the most wonderful singing voice. But before we can be graced by her angelic voice, she is swiftly cut off by Hugh.
Stop everything!
And what's nice about Maggie's story in particular is that we can see hints of her future musical career translating through these future themed episodes quite consistently. There is a world tour poster for a band in her bedroom, and when Marge asks everyone to use their company manners, everyone lifts up their little pinky, except for Maggie, who holds up a rock and roll sign. This breaking away from the status quo trait will only get stronger during her life as she starts to break more away from the family. Age 31, Holidays of Future Past. And so Maggie is now a worldwide musical sensation, hailed as the voice of her generation, which is deliciously ironic seeing as Maggie has barely spoken throughout the entire show. And while staying at the Benny Hilton in England, we find out that Maggie is pregnant and is due to give birth any day. And so it seems that Maggie hasn't just been making sweet music, but free love too. Which feels a little wrong to say about little Maggie. And so Maggie heads back to Springfield. But when she attempts to enter the teleport machine, she is told that because she is pregnant, she'd have to use air travel. When she finally lands back in Springfield, she starts having contractions, and Kearney, out of all people, takes her to the hospital. And we see Dr. Hibbert delivering Maggie's baby, which is amazing to see as he delivered Maggie herself into the world. And so, in a lovely Christmas card moment, Maggie and her baby spend Christmas with the Simpsons. However, the paternal mystery of Maggie Jr. is yet to be revealed.
So, who's the father? It doesn't matter.
But there could be a clue in this. Maggie is seen later on a date with Gerald at a restaurant. Who knows, Gerald could be the father of Maggie Jr. But you know what? I doubt it. I bet that brow has some bloody strong genes. Maggie's Death. Now, this is usually the part where I talk about how the characters bite the dust, which gets a bit depressing. But Maggie is the only exception. When Bart gets struck by lightning and wakes up from his coma, he envisions how everyone dies in Springfield, which is an episode very helpful for this video series. So how does little Maggie go? Well, she doesn't. Maggie is immortal and never dies. She has somehow found the key to eternal life and has become at one with the universe. Was she able to threaten death with her violent rage, or did Kang and Kodos inject her with some immortality alien jab? Who the hell knows? And finally, I'd like to say thank you to my newest Flying Hellfish members, Shadu and Murray King. Thank you so much for helping to support the channel. It really means so much to me, so thank you. And finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to my other Flying Hellfish members. We have Timothy, who else but Zane, Liam, Steve, Charlie, Sean, Andre, Stefan, Vincent, Robert, Ashley, Kevin, Glenford, Devin, Gadrak, Stephen, Edward, Anthony, Nicola, Nerdcentric, Jeffrey, Stephen, Valentine, Dominic, Cody, Kim, Aaron, Jacku Star, GameBoss49, Chaz, Jeff, Gil, Shadu, and Murray King.